Friday and Easter approaching. When I was younger, I would always ask, why is Good Friday called Good Friday when it's about Christ being flogged, being whipped, and being crucified? To me, it wasn't something that was good. It wasn't a it wasn't a, it wasn't a it wasn't a good thing. That's how I always uh received it as. But when I got older, I started to think about all the things that Christ has done for us and His love for us, and it makes me think. Now I understand why it's called Good Friday, and Christ showed His love, His great love for man, and purchased for him every blessing, and Christ was a sacrificial lamb. Because of Christ, we're able just to have freedom. Because of Christ, we're able just to live. Because of Christ, we don't have to sacrifice animals no more. We don't have to do what the Old Testament does. Like every time you sin, you got to go sacrifice an animal, or every time you done something bad, you got to sacrifice an animal. We don't have to do all that. So I truly thank God that He sacrificed His own Son so that I wouldn't be able, so that I will be able to enjoy um, the benefits that God has provided. That I will be able to enjoy what God has done for us. And usually on Good Friday, it's uh we need to really take it into account, whether you're Christian or not. We need to take it into account that God has done all for us, and that God sacrificed His Son, because Jesus could have just been in heaven, and that's just it. But God sent His Son into the world, John 3:16. God sent His Son into the world that we will never perish, that we will never die, but that we will have a hope and a future. And so Jesus living on the earth, He knew what His last mission was. He knew what His last purpose was, and that last mission, that last purpose was to be crucified. That mission was that He was going to go suffer a horrible death. And being crucified, it wasn't something that was just a regular old death. This was a brutal death that the Romans did, and Jesus had to, in order for God's purposes to be fulfilled, Jesus had to go through that. Jesus had to live through that death, and that's why we call it Good Friday. That's why we have to realize it's because of what Christ has done on the cross. That's why we can call it Good Friday. Because we've been redeemed, we call it Good Friday. Because we've been bought back, that's why we call it Good Friday. We've been bought with a price, so we have to glorify God with our lives. And also Easter, we always see the candy for Easter. We see the Easter bunny and stuff, but we need to realize that it's more than just the Easter bunny. It's more than just the chocolate. It's more than just the candy. It's more than all of that. It's about Christ being raised to life. It was about Christ being in the tomb those few days, and then on Sunday, on Easter Sunday, Christ rose to victory. That's what it's all about, and that's what we need to keep in mind, and that's why we need to stay focused on what Easter really is, and not trying to get off track of whatever it may be. So, um, stick with your traditions if you want, but truth be told, Easter is not just about a tradition. Easter is about knowing who Christ is and accepting who Christ is, and really living the free life that Christ has given us. Be blessed, you guys.